Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would please remain standing for a moment as we remember those that we have lost. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. Wish everyone a great holiday. And do we have any public comment on the agenda items? Agenda items only. Okay, we'll go to department and liaison reports. Treasurer.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Our December Treasurer's Report, I emailed copies of the topics to all board members. First item, auditors. Nugent and Hausler completed their audit at the tail end of last month. Couple minor questions related to fixed inventory and a couple other items. Overall, it looked quite favorable. There hasn't been any follow-up since the auditors were here, so I'm assuming we should have a completed audit in January. The monthly financial updates, I provided a copy to the board and to the mayor, and that basically is for year-to-date, for fiscal year for the village, as far as revenue and expenses. Next, financial transactions. The retirement invoices for the PFRS and ERS, which is the police fire retirement system and the employee retirement system, were paid. Unfortunately, the ERS was short about $11,000 from budget. So to cover that shortfall, it's my recommendation that the board consider using the respective contingency funds, which do have adequate funding in them, to make up the difference. Each area, whether it's the A fund, the F fund, or the G fund, they have proportionally been adjusted as far as the amount needed in the shortfall per fund, and those are all available to look at if board members want to see it. But obviously, it's based on contribution levels and so on. The annual statement of financial and operating information is complete. This is an annual requirement for our serial bond. We have to make sure we disclose to the investors of the bond the status, the nature, the changes over the year to year as far as the village, when it comes to valuations, when it comes to overall health of the village. So Munistat with Noah Nadelson prepared that. We provided a lot of the background information, and that was filed on November 30th. For the bond holders to be able to review. Again, that copy I do have, and I also provided one to the mayor if any board members would like to see it. It is interesting information to take a look at how the village is financially structured. I met with Noah Nadelson with Munistat Services. One of the things that came from the audit from the state comptroller was a long-range plan. Financial plan, fiscal plan. Noah with Munistat could help us with that. He's done that in many towns, villages, and I recommend the board maybe consider utilizing his services to help us not only be in compliance with state, but also truly have a long-range fiscal plan so that decision-making can be based on that. Finally, the village was contacted by the state controller's office. What I would request we do, just to get the initial particulars out, is maybe meet in executive session to discuss it, and then based on the board's opinion of that, at a certain point, make it a public session. But I think that there's some particulars that might require some conversation that would fall under executive session criteria. So I put that out as a recommendation to the board.
Thank you.
That pretty much completes the report topics. Is there anything the board has for me?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Wastewater?
Wastewater. For November, average wastewater treated this month, 629,000 gallons, 5.4 inches of rain. Met all permit limitations. Pellwood Lake Pump Stations, Havens Road, checked regularly and operating properly. Belt filter press in operation 11 days. John Jones met with Tito to discuss grit removal system project. Met with Rich Canton, Coaster Associates to discuss primary digester mixing project. Met with TAM Enterprises to discuss primary digester mixing systems. Met with engineer to discuss both ongoing projects and expect project at that time. Automatic grid system taken out of service so JAT could begin demolition of the existing system and install a new one. The new one has been installed. JAT construction on site on automatic grid removal system project for 15 days this month. Tri-County Electric on site working on primary digester, project controls, panels, etc. Sanitary sewer system marked outs, 2 markouts as per UFPO notice, marked out sewer mains for the entire length of Cook's Lane for gas main replacement project. Check possible sewer main blockages on Sweezy in the intersection of Church Street and Drew, both mains working now. Maintenance and lubrication of pumps, motors, machinery as required. Maintenance of buildings and grounds as time allows, 20 days. Man hours lost due to sick, vacation, personal leave, or compensatory leave, 14 days. Overtime work, 67 hours scheduled, emergency 9 hours. Gas consumption, 35.5 gallons. That project's getting pretty close to being done down there. The digester, there's an extra for stainless steel pipes for the grit condensate traps that they want to relocate under the ceiling and remove the black iron. That'll be an extra if the board approves it. And they need to program a controller down there, and it's in, but they just have to program the coordinates in it so it starts at certain times, stops, runs the speeds and stuff like that. They weren't aware when the control was ordered what the times were, so they just sent it. So the guy will be there this week, and that part will be done. And Mr. Tito's in the Headworks building, I think, he'll be down there this week just some extra and changing a couple of large junction boxes. I don't know if he has them, I haven't spoke to him, but shortly he will, and I think that's all. Pretty much this week we'll have a definite direction on that extra. And that'll be it when those 2 processes are done at the plant. Unless there's additional extra stuff that they run into, but I don't think the only one you were talking about is the stainless steel pipe on the roof, or inside the roof. That's it.
Fantastic. Any other reports? Sure.
Well, Chief John Rush, this would be our last meeting with him. Is he here by any chance? We're not letting him go quietly. Within a week's time, we had a major gas leak, and I noticed you've got something on the agenda related to that. And then, unfortunately, yesterday we had 2 serious structure fires. I would like to comment that the coordination among our own emergency services, police, fire, and ambulance was extraordinarily good. For at least one of the structure fires in the village, we had West Point, Fort Montgomery, New Windsor, Cornwall on Hudson, and someone said that Montgomery came down too. But it was a quick response, and fortunately a major portion of the building was saved, and there were no injuries at that particular fire. There was at the one later that day. I also was hoping that Chief Rush would be here because I wanted to give him, on behalf of the ambulance corps, the certificate of appreciation He wasn't able to receive it at the installation dinner for the ambulance corps, but this will be forwarded to him shortly. I do know that Captain Stropel is in the audience. Bill, did you have something related to?
Can I use mine later on for public comment? I have a couple things.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are you going to do the Kevin Hurst?
Not when he gets here yet.
Okay.
Any other reports?
I spoke with John Hager and Bruce DeLuger down at the Building Department Code Enforcement, and he said that he did not have time to get the report finalized and get it up to us due to the 2 fires that he had to come in for. But he did want to update the board on 84 Mearns Avenue, that he spoke with the company that has taken that over, and they should be, in the near future, next couple of weeks, come to basically get the property under control in regards to boarding up windows and doors that have been broken in. I don't know how much they're gonna actually wanna do with that property right now. That may be just because it's the time of the year, but I think we may need to give a little push to the building department to give that company a little push to remedy that situation, that property. He had nothing to update on 109 Center Street, and he said he would get the report to us as soon as he could.
There's another house on Center Street. I think it's 37 Center Street. It's abandoned. I think it was a fire that was almost started about 3 weeks ago. And I think because of inefficiency electrical wiring, and I understand they've been told to the landlord to either fix it, otherwise. And I think that might be a long-standing property also need to be looked into.
37 Center?
Yeah, right there besides where I grew up my driveway.
Okay, I'll mention it to him if you want for a follow-up.
All right,
Is that a multiple family house or a single family residence?
multiple,
Okay.
one time it was a single.
Any other reports? On the DPW, I would like to thank the crew. They put up additional Christmas lights for the Vision Group, those who see the large tree across from Sacred Heart. And they put up additional lights in Memorial Park on all the smaller trees. I'd like to thank them for that. We've had one semi-storm and a storm the other day. I've gotten some good reports back from the community that the snow removal was done well. Walter and Pablo both talked to me today about things they want to do to improve it. And I'm very excited to work with them on the upcoming storm tomorrow and this weekend. Please prepare yourself. A lot of small storms, large storms coming up. Make sure each household has salt and everything you're gonna need. But more importantly, with the new law that was passed by the village, we are asking all the residents to please shovel in front of your houses. It's not about the look, it's not about anything but safety. When school is open the next day and the following day and the following day, and the snow is not removed, we have children walking on the street, whether it's to get to the school or to get to their bus stop. During the day, we have elderly people walking on the street instead of the sidewalk. So please, make sure the sidewalks are shoveled and salted if need be. Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report. With the incident that happened on, what is that building?
Schneider?
No,
Oh, Tobin.
Tobin's Lane. Tobin's Lane, with the truck running into the building. I would like to thank all the responders that came out. We had a lot of different people helping out with the situation. But what we did find, some gaps in the disaster preparedness situation for the village. Communication and places for people to go, immediate places for people to go, were two of the issues that were brought up, as well as one or two others. And after talking to the chief, the chief reminded us that we do not at this point have a board liaison to the Disaster Preparedness Committee. So I have asked Charlie Murphy to serve as that liaison, and she has accepted, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Charlie. That will give us, one, better communication at the board level, but two, it will help us to make changes and improvements to the committee itself. Again, I would also like to thank all those responding to 2 fires yesterday. I really appreciate everyone's effort, in particular, not just our own, which did a great job, but all those responding from outside the community. This past week, I met with 2 economic developers to help us get a plan in place for the business community in Highland Falls. The business community, along with the entire community, we have several different programs we're going to be looking at. We're involving people from the community, business people, members at large, and people in government. If there are those that want to be part of the Economic Development Committee, please let me know. Right now, we do have approximately 12 people on the group. But when we talk about the business community, it's had its ups and downs over the last 20 years. And for the business community to rebound, because we are in no way in a good shape, for the business community to rebound, all the businesses are going to have to get involved on several different levels. And as the businesses get involved, we need to support them. So if anyone has any inkling of being on the committee, you don't have to be a business person. If you just want to get involved to make it a better village, you're more than welcome. Delivery parking. I'd like to just bring this up to the board, and then I would like to move on it at our next meeting. I want to give you guys a chance to take a look at it, and I would like to actually move on it for new business at the next meeting. Talking to 2 or 3 of the businesses on the south end of Main Street. Now, West Point Pizza has a small spot there for their car for delivery parking. We're trying to locate something off Main Street for some of the other businesses. Towards the north of the south end, around Sushi King area, the thought was to put a delivery parking spot on the corner of Main and Brennan's Way. So they're off Main Street, but close enough to the 3 stores that are right there, and if more come in, hopefully, that at least there's one designated spot between, like, we would set that, 11 to 7, 11 to 8, delivery hours. It wouldn't be a spot closed off all the time. It would be a spot that would be for deliveries, mainly during the business hours, to encourage, one, workers to get off of Main Street so we can get customers on Main Street, and 2, for those businesses that are constantly running out and feeding the meter, to have their own spot, and they will be getting a sticker, which the sticker program will commence in January. Chief Scott has told me that he is on the sticker situation, and as soon as they are available, we will make them open for the public. Also, along with parking, again, we're moving on the stickers, and we were also looking to make some more spots on Veterans Way. This is another area. It was a little confusing the last time I brought it up. John Rush was very concerned about the fire trucks being able to get by. We're not looking to close off Veterans Way completely. We're looking to close off one side of Veterans Way to make it one way coming from West Point Highway, and to push traffic into the village coming off Mountain Avenue. This will allow for 6 to 10 parking spots along Veterans Way for activities in Memorial Park, but also so that there is more parking on the far south end of Main Street, so those businesses have an opportunity to have customers park closer to their shops. So the lane that is right next to Memorial Park is the lane that we are looking to close off. And I would like again, this is another thing I would like the board to take the time between now and the next meeting to take a look at this area, so that they can have an informed decision coming back to next board meeting. Also, we are looking for anyone that has any requests for fill, to fill in areas in the community. We have additional fill down by the Babe Ruth field that we are looking to get rid of. So if there are people out in the public that are looking for fill, please let us know. This also includes leaves, as well as just regular fill that's accumulated over the years. You can contact Walter over at DPW directly. Please don't call Village Hall, call DPW. And lastly, the toy box is up and running downstairs. Toy box is also over at the Walk-Hill Bank, as well as Albert's and the Fort storage. If anyone has a problem getting it to any of those areas, you're more than welcome to call the Village Hall, and we'll make sure there's somewhere for you to deposit your toys. Just again, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating this season. I'm looking 3 smiles. It's okay. I know you're in a board meeting. You can smile. It's all right. And that's it for now. I do have something for Kevin Hurst when he gets to us. Moving on to discussion of the parking meter rates and stickers. As we had said, the stickers are on their way. As far as parking meter rates, we discussed, we now have a parking meter person that is going to empty them, fix them, the whole nine. So now the question becomes, do we want to set a standard rate? The rates right now are a nickel, a dime, and a quarter. To make it a little easier for the machines, we could set it quarter, half hour, 50 cents hour, and whatnot, and just have the machine set for a quarter. Correct, Chief? Using that machine to adjust all the things, we can set it to accept just quarters, or no, they can accept everything, but we set it to quarter to begin, correct?
Yeah, when we decide on a rate, we can get the machine
Correct.
and calibrate them to that, whatever we want.
Right, calibrate it, and that's, this way, if we're only collecting, particularly if we're only collecting quarters, it makes it a lot easier to, if we decide on 25 cents, it makes it a lot easier to bag them and get them to the bank.
Our new in-house meter person.
Right, that's,
Will he be able to do the calibrations so we
Yes.
don't have to ship them out? They're done here.
So the meters will just be adjusted, the current meters, or are they getting new ones?
They'll be adjusted.
Okay,
Also, I'll write you guys up a memo on explaining the details.
okay.
there will, I'm sorry.
I think I have a little problem with just having a quarter. You know, a quarter just to go get a cup of coffee.
Nothing's set in stone, that's fine. When we actually,
Unless you wanna do maybe just dime and quarter, do dime for, you know, stick to the regular 12 minutes, I think you get for a dime, or 24 minutes, or whatever it is. And then
It's a
just do
quarter an hour, we can change the rate
right,
where you get a half hour per quarter, whether it's dimes, nickels, whatever you guys wanna do.
No, I think it's a good idea to eliminate maybe one of the coins, so you don't have to deal with, you know, bag it, tagging it, bringing it to the bank. But a quarter, if that's the only thing I'm putting in there, is just a quarter, you know, to run in and grab the newspaper instead of getting the ticket, or spending whatever, $75 for a sticker,
50 for locals,
50, sorry.
70 for non-locals. We are encouraging everyone to get stickers. The rate for the tickets went up, as everybody knows. Don't get a ticket, get a sticker. It's a lot cheaper. And again, those meters are only there. We are working with the local businesses. The only reason the meters are there is for the local businesses. They're not there as a source of income, because they don't make income for this village. When you put against the keeping of the meters, paying the person to take care of them, the whole nine, it's not a moneymaker. What they are is so they move people along on Main Street, so the businesses are getting as much business as possible. I did sit down with 2 or 3 businesses this past week to discuss the meters, and several of them are discussing, is there any way we can get rid of the meters? The biggest problem is that and we were, during this discussion, we were talking about people that come into town, is there someone that actually pulls in on Main Street that is here for longer than an hour, half hour? 9 times, as you said, cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, running into the hardware store, running in here or there. Most people are in and out between 5 and 15 minutes. Moving on to the people that are for lunch, they're here for lunch, and then they go. It's the key is the people that are staying all day. And that's the one thing, and those are mainly, what we have to deal with are the workers that work on Main Street. That's one of the bigger problems, and then once we get over that hump with the businesses on Main Street, that's another discussion that will come up. And again, that, to me, that's gonna be up to the businesses, whether they wanna keep the meters or not, because they are for their purpose. But that's a discussion another time. Correspondence from Carla Burns.
Good evening. I don't come to board meetings, so if I'm here, it must be something that's really urgent. I had sent a letter to Mr. Patterson, who was street superintendent, regarding my neighbor who claims ownership of a portion of Sweezy Avenue. And I haven't, it really wasn't very bothersome to me. They park on the street, even though there's a sign that says no parking. This has been a long bone of contention from when my parents lived in the house. My father built the house probably 35 years ago, no, more than that, probably about 50 years ago. And there was always a problem with the strip between the two properties. And many years ago, my mother planted all of these lovely flowers there and asked the village if we could buy, or if my parents could buy that property. The village said no, because they consulted the neighbors, and the neighbors said that they did not want to have the street sold. They didn't want a portion of it, they didn't want it sold. And so they ripped up the flowers, they paved it over, and they put a sign saying no parking. And that's the way it's been for all of these years. But at the point now, my neighbor says that he owns a portion of the street, and he has been challenging workmen who come to work for me, saying, get off my property, challenging people who are standing in the street. And so I think it's time that we really need to clearly know who owns Sweezy Avenue, where it intersects into a dead wall at Liberty Street. Many of you rightly remember that there was a wooden staircase there when I was a kid, and that's why it's still a public street. And so at any rate, I just want to hand these back, folks.
Of course.
Well, you know, you have so many whacked out people today, you know, you might have some regulations around who can come close. It's very true, very true. The first document is the letter that I sent to Mr. Patterson, asking for some kind of determination as to who owns the property. The second sheet is the 2013 tax map enlargement of the area. And if you look at the part I highlighted in yellow, you can see that it says Sweezy Avenue. There seems to be no protrusion from their property into Sweezy Avenue. And if you look on the other side, number 1 would be my property. Even the small little part where the park, Banks Park, sticks out is included in this document. So I would assume that if there was some kind of a protrusion where these folks had ownership of Sweezy Avenue or any portion of it, it would be reflected on the current tax map. I don't see it there. Does anybody see it there? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that my neighbors are animal lovers. They have taken in a number, or not taken in, they feed a number of cats. They have some cats in their house, I'm assuming, but most of the cats are outside. They put out cat food that's unattended. It draws feral cats from all over the village. My yard is laden with cat feces because they have 2 dogs in their yard. So the cats do not go in their yard. The cats come and lounge and poop in my yard. It has become so insufferable that I cannot let, when I have visitors with children, I cannot let them go out into the yard. Workmen constantly complain when they come into my yard to do work because it's laden with feces. In the summer, it draws flies, and I can't even sit on my deck without coming out and spraying a can of Raid around first. It's thoroughly disgusting. I'm a cat lover. I've always owned at least 1 or 2 cats. I have a cat right now. My cat is afraid to go outside because of all of these mean feral cats that are around the neighborhood. He looks out the door before he goes out and just goes out for a minute or 2. I think there should be a cat sanctuary somewhere, but it should not be in a community where houses are on small lots and very close to one another. It is inconsiderate for all of the people who live in the area, and most especially dangerous for the park.
I have no control.
Banks Park, because the village kind of, my previous administration, kind of shortchanged the people of the center of the village when they used, instead of using rubber fill under the playground equipment or rubber squares, they used cedar chips. Well, I think we all know what happened there. All of these feral cats that are fed by these folks go into the park and poop, and the kids are walking and rolling around in cat poop. I don't know how dangerous cat feces is for people. It's very dangerous, especially for pregnant women. Pregnant women can't go and sit in that park. There's cat feces all over the place. It's disgusting. This is mainly because these folks are leaving cat food unattended on their side porch. And I've seen skunks out there. I'm afraid to go out at night because I know there might be skunks out there. I've seen raccoons out there eating the cat food. As I said, intentions are good, but this location is not a location for people feeding feral cats and having a cat sanctuary, which is basically what it is. So, and I think especially the park situation is really the disrespectful to the children of the center village. Those are my 3 points. Who owns Sweezy Avenue? Oh, and one last thing. The second one is the cats. And the third one is, I don't have the document, but I thought I saw in the village code that political signs should be no larger than 2 feet by 2 feet on a residence. These folks have a huge, nasty-looking piece of plywood that every election cycle, they put something on, whatever they put on it, and I believe that is in violation of the code.
Okay, Carla, we'll look into all these things and we will get back to you, okay?
Thank you.
The one thing with the park, chief, we gotta make sure, we, at the very least, close that gate and see if that helps keeping all the animals out, making sure, some animals will get in, they'll get up on the wall, they'll do whatever. But we leave that gate open, so that's something that we need to talk about as far as making sure someone comes by, similar to Royal Park where we shut it down at dusk, making sure that gate's closed.
They go in
Hopefully
there
that will,
all
I
day
know,
long.
but hopefully that
And the
might
gate has a
help.
big space under it, so if you
Yeah,
close it.
we'll see what we can do. Thank you very much, we'll catch you
We
during,
didn't know what was gonna be,
That's okay.
what this
We'll-
meant, so
you'll-
we'd like to address that.
and during, public comment. New business? We need to approve the minutes as written regular meeting December 2nd, 2013 with correction of bills and claims from $225,175.58 to $225,246.22, difference of $70.65, and increase the general fund due to clerical error when posting vouchers. Do I have a motion?
I make that vote.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Charlie Murphy, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
I just abstaining from that because I wasn't.
Catch it, Jim? Thank you. Okay, we have the appointment to Recreation Commission effective 1/1/2014, term to expire December 31st, 2019. The lateness of the letter is my fault. For those that did get a chance, Charlie, I don't know if you got a chance to look it over. I would like to, let me just see that one. I'd like to appoint Aaron Falk to the open position of Recreation, the Recreation Committee. Is there any questions? No? Do I have a,
Just was it advertised at all, or?
no, I was given a note that we need to appoint a new person, and I did. Are there any, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Charlie Murphy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Mellon, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Aaron's here tonight. Thank you very much, Aaron. For those who don't know, Aaron actually is a recreation director at his day job right now, which is one of the great benefits coming to the Recreation Committee. He's got a lot of background in the area, and I think that will be very helpful moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the help.
We have the appointment of part-time police officer Michael Nolte at $19.65 per hour, 52-week maximum probation. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I will.
I have a motion by Charlie Murphy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Bob Mellon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We have a request for handicap parking space on 55 Schneider Avenue. You have the paperwork in front of you. Are there any questions? Do I have a motion?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
What's the, Kenny, did they just submit a letter to you first, or does it start at Village Hall? Because I know another homeowner that lives on Cousins that had asked to see if they can get a handicap spot in front of their house. Well, was it not feasible? I don't know if you know, I think it was in front of McElroy's house there.
Usually I will get a notice and I'll go with the DPW supervisor.
So I'm
and we'll
saying they
just
should
assess
start
it.
on that side of the house? Okay.
And this one we did when Mr. Patterson was still with us.
This one here?
Yes,
Okay.
and we didn't see any problem, I just gotta go up and get the final measurements, so when you guys do adopt it, everything will be in writing for you.
Do you review these over time? I mean, let's say 3 years from now, things change. I mean, is it something subject to review at a certain point in time, or you just kind of leave them there till somebody says we don't need it on?
Occasionally we'll come across one and go, we need to reevaluate that, or somebody will come forward and say, hey, no one's used this in years, and
Okay.
Particularly if they move, like the one that was put up on top of Cousins, off to the left.
she's still there.
Right, but that was actually a handicap spot before, that wasn't being used, and
We
it
took that
took
down.
the sign down, took everything away, but then another handicapped person moved in, so we had the same location. So if there is, you would touch base with Chief Scott first, then it would move over to the village.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Charlie Murphy, all those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? So moved. We have a change order request for digester mixing system to upgrade pipe to stainless steel. You have that paperwork in front of you. Are there any questions on that?
How are we paying for it, that's all? That's the $8,000, the upgrade, the change order.
Is there a, I'd like to call Paul to see if there's,
I don't necessarily think it's not a bad idea,
no, it's a good idea.
I just don't know how we're paying for it.
It's needed, I don't know if there's any, Tina, do you know if there's any funding on that project, or we're,
I believe it is.
okay. You think
Give you
there,
exact.
Do we have opportunity to postpone this to the next meeting, or they need this done now?
well, they're working, so we gotta get.
Right,
I
it
needed
done.
time yesterday.
Yeah. Ed's still around, hey Ed,
Yeah,
do we have money, do you know if we have money left, $8,000 left in that project?
I would have to double check. I think there's a little bit built in,
Okay.
but I would have to look at the schedule. We have a lot of different projects, so I can't pinpoint tell you exactly.
Okay. I can call, Paul wouldn't have that information, I mean,
He might.
You should.
Well, we could get it
Yeah,
It's not like we can't get it, we just have to dig up the docs and see what the original approval amount was for and where we're at as far as spend on it.
So how do you wanna do this? You wanna make it contingent on funds
You-
being available? or-
That's what I would recommend, is contingent on available funds.
Okay.
do I have a motion to move for the change order of digest mixer system, to upgrade pipe to stainless steel contingent on availability of funds?
I'll make that motion.
The only thing is that it's gotta be done either way.
But
Right.
they're on site, and if they're gonna do it, they gotta do it real soon.
Okay, so if there isn't funds and we have to pay for it, are you still, is there anyone opposed to paying for it if we have to pay for it?
It has to be done, so.
Yeah.
Well, they wanna upgrade it to stainless steel, which is the smart thing to do since we're putting so much money into the system. So if there isn't funds available, is there anyone that has a problem paying the $8,000 to upgrade the stainless steel pipe?
I don't
I
have.
don't see no problem, I just.
Oh, I mean, everyone has a problem with the extra 8,000, but we need to do it.
Yeah, we have to have a budget.
Just to add to it, it's capital project, and you have multiple capital projects. We just signed off on one that, if I recall, is about $10,000 under the original number. Okay, so at the end of the day, if the board wishes, that could be a source also.
Okay.
I don't believe for this small amount of money that there would have to be additional borrowing, all right, at this point, because we still have one borrowing facility that we have not exercised yet, that we will probably exercise in the first quarter, or for the, technically our third quarter in the village. So you'll have the funding. Reading this, I think the thing that's most important here is basically the demonstration as to why it's come up now for stainless steel instead of the original bid. That was the thing that jumps out at
Well,
me.
it's a good idea. Basically, the other was black and it was rotting. The idea of the stainless seems to be, for kind of say,
Longer.
yeah, longer life, it'll be 30 years down there without a problem. I don't know if you're gonna get that kind of life expectancy out of black pipe. And they were moving it under the ceiling instead of being exposed on the roof, so they facilitate cleaning the traps out and stuff all year long.
Okay, so it was discovered after they started the work,
Yes.
and then they found that there was, okay, well then, it seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, the stainless is definitely a good move,
Was it in the bid to replace the steel ones that were there now?
No, but I guess as they're up on the roof, working on the roof and everything, that they're, I get pictures from Jimmy and different things that the conduits are rotten and this needs replacing. I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere, but, I think it's a needed fix, so.
I agree.
So I think you'd be able to find through capital funds, you'd be able to find some money.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, so change order request for digester mixing system to upgrade pipe to stainless steel. That's it. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Brown, do I have a second?
Second. Don't give it to Bob, or-
All right, Mr. Mellon, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. We have a budget,
Before you move on, he also has a request in his letter to you for an extension request that you'd like the board to address. I think it's on the next page of his letter.
last page, they're requesting extension to the completion of the date. This is something that we addressed with the other company as well as this company, that they're past the date on the contract. And they've kind of expressed to us that, well, this is this and that is that. And after talking to Gina, I'm glad they at least submitted this at this point, because we have got to lock down from now on for future contracts. There is no, this is how it was done, and what I thought, that this is something we agreed on. Black and white is the only thing we go. It's gotta be in print, it's gotta be part of the contract, and they've gotta follow it.
He wants to
So
retro-
he would like us to move on.
He wants to retro the time back to the agreement, just so you get it correct.
Are you guys catching that? He wants the extension to retro back to when it was actually over,
What did
meaning
we-
there's no penalty.
What did we do with the last company?
Exactly. We set a precedence, I believe.
So,
I have no problem accepting this request for when we get it. But we did set a precedence with the last group. As far as what we're gonna do is another situation. Now, to just retro this letter came as a result of us contacting them. Not that they just realized we're past the date,
Right.
let's get a letter to the board. If we did not contact them and say, you're over your date, this letter would never showed up. So that's the other thing to take into consideration as far as retroing it. I have no problem approving it from today forward, but not to retro.
We haven't read through the other one.
No, that's what Jim just said. So
Well, we also asked some other stuff too.
that's what I'm saying. That's something we can talk about,
I-
that's something we can talk about as far as this letter. I personally would just like to move on the acceptance of
An
the
extension.
extension, that's it,
Okay,
no retro.
right, I talked to Paul, he seemed to think that there was no harm, no foul, no damages as far as, so, and in light of Todd being deployed and different things, we share a little bit of the responsibility here, because maybe if the engineer was working down there on a more regular basis too, he perhaps would say, hey, you guys, the clock's ticking, you got 6 days left on your contract, file for an extension, do something, maybe that would have been done, and the acknowledgement letter, that seems to be the way to go.
I tend to agree with you, we did not do that for the.
Right, well, and also my question
That's
is,
my only- I totally agree with
right,
you.
yeah.
And if you wanna do it for this company, that's fine, but then we have to go back and do it for the other.
well, the other problem is that when do we draw the line? When do we say, they're 8 weeks, they're 2 months, they're 2 years late?
When it's a financial
Just give
burden
it-
to us,
well,
you know, or
The problem is every time we let someone go, it gives the vendors more leeway to do whatever they want. So we need to set a precedence, stick with it, and let people know they signed the contract. This isn't something that we came up with. This is a contract that they signed, that they're responsible for, and they're a company, they're a business. I wouldn't put any of the local businesses, you know, they're under the same constrictions, and they wouldn't expect anything different. So I personally would just like to retro this and discuss the past and exec,
Not
depending on
re-
what we need.
Not retro, just accept.
Yeah.
Just accept the extension,
Acknowledge the.
no retro.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to accept the extension without retro?
Extension, yes.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you, Gina, I appreciate you pulling that out. We have a budget transfer for a contingency fund to state retirement system. Do I have any questions on that? Do I have a motion for the budget, to move budget transfer from contingency fund to state retirement? It's much smaller than last year.
You
Yeah,
have
that's
different
fine.
ones, you know, from the general water and sewer.
Right, if you want, we can go through each one. They're all contingency to state retirement fund. Would you guys like to go and do each one individually, or just move? Gina, is there a preference?
Whatever you wanna do, if I need you to.
I'm okay with moving all three.
It's gotta be paid anyway, so.
Yeah, it's gotta be
I'll
done.
make that motion.
Motion by Bob Bellin, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee DeSalvo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So move. We have to reschedule the second meeting in January to Tuesday, January 21st, due to Martin Luther King holiday. Do I have a motion to reschedule the January meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Brown, seconded by Mr. Salvo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. I need a motion to accept the bills and claims in the amount of $340,769.46. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Charlie Murphy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mellon. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Moving into public comment, once again, please, ladies and gentlemen, let's remember respect for one another, and you need to be recognized to be heard. And if I ask you to please stop, please stop. Yes.
Laura Milsom, 105 Center Street. Regarding the letter that you received from Carla Burns, we would like to request a copy of that because we have not seen it. The neighbors that she's referring to would be myself and my husband. We live on 105 Center Street. I'd like to start by saying that since the board's going to be considering this, we have the copies of the deeds to our property available for you. We'll be glad to make you a copy of that so that you can see that our property extends approximately 2 feet and 8 inches onto Sweezy. Our front door is actually on Sweezy, and what looks to be our front door, which faces Center Street, is actually our side door. And the way that you can verify that is to go to Mr. Hager, who we went to when we were going to put up our fence, and he verified that that is in fact the case. So our front door is on Sweezy. Miss Burns lives on Liberty Street. That's her address. So when we pull onto Sweezy, that 2 feet and 8 inches that we pull onto is actually at our front door. So I do that very, very often, probably daily. I have 3 herniated discs in my neck. I come home and it's dark. I don't feel safe in my neighborhood. As you know, there's a lot of drug issues on Center Street. So I like to park by my front door and go into my door. Right there, because I'm alone at night. A lot of times my husband is working at night and I do it for safety's sake. I'd like to say that the issue of feral cats in Highland Falls has been going on way before we arrived with our one fixed female cat. In fact, Miss Burns's neighbor, who also lives on Liberty Street, has been feeding cats for many, 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 many years. However, as she's gotten older, she has no longer trapped, neuter, spayed, and released them. She did it for many years. She's just not able to do it anymore. Consequently, these cats are breeding and breeding and breeding, and they go all over the neighborhood. My husband and I have been working with the Humane Society now for almost 7 years. We have trapped, neutered, spayed, and released well over 150 cats. We have stopped counting at 150. Those cats that we trapped also received rabies shots. They received distemper shots, so they're not transmitting diseases to people. Yeah, the issue of animals pooping outside, you want to talk about the dog poop around Roe Park, or the goose poop, or the skunk poop, or the raccoon poop, or the bird poop, or the possum poop, you know, whatever. If you're talking about eradicating cats, I think you're going to have a problem with the SPCA. These cats are here. If you'd like to know how Dr. Beeman, who is the head of the Humane Society, recommends handling the issue, it is by trapping, neutering, spaying, and releasing them. Yes, we have some cats that we feed, and we do feed them daily. We do not want starving cats dying on our porch, and there are many, many, many of them, and we continue to trap them. And we will continue to trap them, and we do that at our expense. We spend an awful lot of money taking care of these feral animals. We're animal lovers, and as I said, they've been here forever. And so we are trying to mitigate the problem from the woman who lives on Center Street, who is feeding them but not fixing them. So they are, one female cat and her offspring in 7 years can produce, I think it's 700 and some odd thousand cats. It's either 400 and something or 700 and something thousand. So every time you catch a female, you're preventing her and her offspring from hundreds of thousands of cats. So we'll continue to do that. Now, I'd like to say that I will put this in writing so that you have it before you. We would like a copy, as I said, of that letter. Let's see. The sign that was put up on the street was not there when we moved in. We actually have pictures of the whole place before we moved in. And apparently this problem has been going on since, obviously, way before we moved in. But that sign mysteriously appeared about the no parking from the previous board once we moved in. So, you know, whether we're allowed to park in front of our door on property that extends 2.2 feet and 8 inches in front of our front door, that's, you know, for the village to decide. The issue of the maintenance worker, I would like to say there's only been one maintenance worker that we know of that's complained about us. that gentleman threatened my husband and was reported to the police, and that can be verified with Chief Scott. He was in his face multiple times, swearing at him, telling him that where we had paved our driveway on the side of our house, that was always common property and common egress, and that we had no right to do that. So he was trespassing on our property, and when he was doing that, and my husband went out to ask him not to do that, he had this raging, screaming fit, and it's happened multiple times. So I had to tell Ms. Burns that if her maintenance worker, continued to appear on our property and threaten my husband or myself or anyone else who is there, that, we would be reporting it again to the police and pursuing it. So this is obviously a complicated issue, we'll put it in writing. That's not actually why I'm here tonight. What I'm here tonight about is about consolidation. And I'd like to thank the board for all their efforts with the consolidation process with the town, and I'd like to thank the town as well. Several years ago, it might have been 2, I'm not really sure, I had come to the board and asked about putting the issue of consolidation and/or dissolution, or both, on the ballot. And I didn't receive an answer, and it never happened. So I would like this board to consider allowing the villagers, the voters in the village of Highland Falls to have the opportunity to vote on whether they would like to see the village and the town move forward towards consolidating or dissolving or some measure in between of the two. So if that is something this board would like to consider as a tax-paying citizen of both the village and the town, my husband and I would like to formally request that you might consider that. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question?
I don't see why not.
On the subject of feral cats, once they've been neutered and vaccinated, I assume also, for rabies, et cetera, has there been any attempt, either through Beaman or some other source, to find permanent homes for them?
So there's when you have cats, feral cats, if you get them young enough, they're usually adoptable. So, if you get kittens or a pregnant mother and they're born, around people, then they are usually adoptable. Dr. Beaman has her hands full with adopting out cats, and she also sends them up to a wonderful organization called Colby Kennels in Dalesgate. And they also adopt our cats out for us because it's such a big problem, and she takes dogs sometimes as well. So if they're young enough, they are usually adoptable. Whether someone wants to adopt them or not, that's a whole different issue. Dr. Beaman has, 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 cats of her own, and then a bunch in her office that are still up for adoption. If they're not adoptable, if they're older, we have some very old cats that come around from nowhere. We had one cat, we opened our front door one morning and this 30-pound cat just walked in our front door. Someone had obviously dumped him on our property. But if they're older and they're really feral, they're usually not adoptable. Well, if somebody here wants to shoot them or kill them, then that's your prerogative. It's against the law, and you'll be arrested and prosecuted for it, but that would be the alternative to fixing them and giving them their shots, and because there's no real solution to it. The only permanent solution to a feral cat problem is to trap them and fix them. And if you can afford to give them their shots, then they're not transmitting diseases, and it's the best case scenario for a problem that's been going on for many, many, many years in this village. Thank you.
If there is if you know of any other feral cat problems, the feces is a serious issue, as well as the growth of feral cat communities. Please contact Dr. Beaman, so at least she's aware of it, if you do notice that in your neighborhood.
One alternative, and I can't give you a source, but we had the unfortunate situation where a member of our family was taking care of feral cats at the commissary at West Point. They were going to be exterminated. He paid for their neutering and fixing, and then was harboring them in our house. The happy ending there was These cats did find a home by taking them out to Warwick, because farmers will sometimes take in as many as 10 cats because they're good mousers as long as they've been given their shots and neutered. So that would be my only extra suggestion for healing them.
Can I see what you're saying? So, I'm sorry, one more thing. There's a program, called Tara, which is, it's a trap, and release van that, we've given the information to the town. I don't know if we gave it to the village, but they will bring their van to the village or the town, and they have all these different programs set up where you can, sponsor it, you can either help people pay for it if they can't afford it, or, it's just a reduced rate for people to get their animals fixed. And that's, I will get you that information if you don't have it. Dr. Beeman does have it, but I will get you a copy of it. So that's a program that's willing to actually come to our village, and it's a van, it's state of the art, and that might be another way to go. That's all.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Is Kevin Hurst back there?
No, he's not.
All right. Public comment, Mr. Strobel.
Only one bad thing on my list tonight. The telephone poles on Center Street is still there. Now, the village did an excellent job of snow plowing. But, on a small street like that, you start blocking up the sidewalk, the actual street, because the snowplows can't get through, it's limiting the access more and more. I know the town.
Before we move forward, Walter, are you aware of the pole he's talking about?
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
right-
Walter will go ahead and address that, okay, buddy?
Okay, the good part here, during the snowstorm, we had 2 very serious ambulance falls. This was locked to the door at the time and the place it happened. But the village DPW, actually went in front of the ambulance and plowed on the one on Burns Avenue. I want to thank you very much. And the 2 fire department, you can't talk enough about it. They did an excellent job, all right, great work. Now, the real reason why I'm here, you couldn't make our meeting. For those who don't know, there's 3 members of the board. Mr. DeSalvo is at the fire department, Charlie's with both the ambulance and the fire department, and our mayor is also one of our drivers of the ambulance corps. You ain't getting away with this. You wasn't at our meeting. So, on behalf of the state of New York, Senator Larkin gives a certificate to Patrick Flynn from the Town of Highlands Ambulance Corps for over 15 years of active volunteer duty. I want to thank you very much, sir. From the ambulance corps, signed by both the president and myself, again, for 15 years active duty. All right. Our assemblyman, Senator Skokas, sends you his regards for over 15 years of active duty. Personally, between Marty and I, Mr. Flynn has done 562 calls as a volunteer with us. I want to thank you very much for your service, sir. All right.
We're looking for more drivers. Get involved.
EMTs.
The EMTs, drivers, firefighters, you never gonna have enough. And I thank you guys. So if you have any questions on that, you can see Captain Stropel or the fire department for questions on getting involved.
Good evening, Reverend Leslie, Howland Falls. I'm informed there's no sound on the TV, so I'll save what I came here for the next meeting. I have some FOIL requests. However, I know that you did mention about the snow removal on the sidewalks, and I do agree with you that the safety to be able to walk up clean sidewalks. However, living on Mountain Avenue, I just want to mention to you that it's very tough for us on Mountain Avenue, and the reason why is because as we shovel the sidewalks, the state comes by and plows. And I have to tell you, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than being out there, doing your whole entire sidewalk, salting it down as you say, and you hear that truck coming by from the state, and it's gone. And your sidewalk is just loaded with snow again, and on a night like tonight, it freezes and now it's ice. So, for the police department, I just want you to just think about that. It's pretty obvious who has shoveled and who hasn't shoveled. The other thing I want to mention is, I know you were talking about closing by Memorial Park to one side there. I would think twice about that, and the reason why, again, living on Mountain Avenue, there's a lot of trucks and there's a lot of buses that come down Mountain Avenue. I don't know where you're gonna route them. If they take a right and if they're going to West Point, they can't take a left. They're gonna have to go down and find somewhere to turn around, which I would probably imagine is gonna end up either being a supermarket or something like that. And the only other route would be trying to come through Main Street here. So then you would have to think about the safety. Do you really want all of these big things going down Main Street? And I commend you on trying to get business to the businesses. I think that's a positive thing. But for some of these big buses coming down Mountain Avenue and the trucks, I see them going past my house. I don't know if you want them going down the village street here. It's something to think about. And lastly, I have a little dog, a little small dog, and I walk him around Roe Park all the time. And I agree with you, Larry. I just can't believe it. Sometimes when I'm walking down, you're dodging it. And the board or whoever puts them up there, there's baggies on one side and there's baggies on the other for the dogs. I don't know why there's such a mess up at Roe Park. Perhaps I don't know how many fines are put out for that, but maybe it's something to think about, and maybe put a couple signs up there, and I've seen them in Westchester. I've gone to municipalities over in Westchester, and they're strict on that with the dogs. You might want to think about that. That's it.
Any other public comment?
Gus Kucherod, West Point Motel, Fort Montgomery, Highland Falls. These are very, very trying times for businesses, and wherever we can find ways of saving money, especially through consolidation or even disillusionment, I think that would be ideal. What I would recommend to the board is maybe if the treasurer could do a cost analysis on the benefits and also the not-so-good benefits of consolidation, and just a preliminary idea, because it's my understanding that the state is willing to give, I think it's 10 or 15% cash payment of the combined budgets of the two entities once it's combined, and that can go a long way in terms of solving some of our debt problems that we've accumulated over the past couple of years. So anything you can do, that would be ideal.
We do have a meeting, I believe it's January 6th, with representatives from my old agency, the Department of State, which is that program you're talking about. At this point, we're talking about the prospects of consolidating DPW, and I believe that the incentive money might apply to that as well.
Maybe a portion or some of that towards that. But I think all the planets are starting to align, and I think now is as good as time as any to finally follow through on this. If it's beneficial, I think it will be beneficial for both communities. So that's my take on it. So, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Or public comment, rather? Board comment? Jim?
I'm going to actually agree with Laura Milsom. I think we should put it on the ballot for March. You know, I run into probably 50, 60, 70 people a day, and I don't hear much of that consolidating of services. Let's get rid of the village, let's have one town. Some people do bring it up, and it is talked about. And I think there's pros and cons for both sides. And I think if you talk to some experts, whoever they may be, they will give you reasons why it would be good and it would not be too good. Everybody likes the easy cash up front, I get it. And having been on both boards, I could probably say that there is pros and cons to consolidating and not consolidating. So I would be totally in favor of putting it on the March ballot in some way, shape, or form. And it could be, as long as we talk to council, something maybe even general enough to say, do you want us to start the procedures on X, Y, Z in regards to consolidating or dissolution? I think most people would want to vote on it, and I think most people in the village would want to see that option on the ballot.
Bob?
Yeah, I do also. And we have spoke to Ed on cost analysis on consolidate. We have had a meeting there, and there's all kinds of discussions going on, but it would certainly be a vote of confidence to proceed forward with this if we had more, or all the support, or a good portion of it to continue on with this, and a wonderful idea.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I'm for it. Also, as long, I would like to know how much, how beneficial it's gonna be, as he just said. As long as it's a great savings, I would be for it.
I hate to be the downer at the table, but having spent the better part of 7 years working on different programs to encourage consolidation and functional consolidation of different aspects of municipal government, as staunchly as I'm in support of merging services, getting rid of redundancy, if we're talking about putting it on the ballot in March, I think that's premature. I'd be willing to circulate a survey to get people's reaction and feeling about it, but there is so much that has to go in the way of pre-planning, that, 3 months isn't enough time to give it a fair shake. I think we should focus on the DPW now, see if that is a go, and then begin the really hard work of looking at the two municipalities and how we can come together and work together to make us all one big community. Because I would like to see it, but as
Yeah,
far
but-
as success in March, I think that won't give us a good reading, and it wouldn't be fair to the voters, because there isn't enough information available.
I think there's, and Bob, Mr. Mellon has been on the board, and he may even been on the board when they did a study to whether or not to consolidate, and that's going back a ways of time ago. Like I said, it's something that could be explored, but you have a few people in the room here, and we're not gonna take a poll, but maybe some are for it, some are against it. There's nothing wrong with some shape or form, and don't tell me we can't do it, because we were able to do things all the time when we want to, or as a board we want to, or a majority of the board we want to put something up in March. It's something that's talked about. We have big projects going on in the village that we're able to get accomplished. I'm sure there's some way, shape, or form that we can get it on the ballot. And in fact, Laura, and you correct me, at one point, or Ms. Milsom, at one point you were getting petitions to try to get it on the ballot at one point, to get signatures from village residents. So I don't think this is something we can, I think it's something that can be totally done.
There's gonna be a lot of education involved, that's one of the things I ran on coming in as mayor, is consolidation. I see it one of the only ways for this town to survive. The taxes have become too burdensome to the homeowners. There's way too many things going on between all the different boards, so there's no focus. We need to consolidate for more efficient government. I agree that we need to continue the process to start with the DPW and immediately to educate the public on the pros and cons of consolidation. What pros and cons of consolidation? Pros and cons of dissolution. Two entirely different things. And as far as the savings or benefit, one of the biggest things to realize is once you crunch the numbers, which is one of the reasons why we're doing DPW right now, so that we don't hire a new department head for DPW. We're trying to save money there, but in my opinion, that's small. Those savings are small compared to the savings we'll see in the future. And one of the examples I bring up that I utilize is the massive amount of money that was spent on the town and the village side on lawyers to fight each other for the land on 9W that technically we have no ownership of anyway at this particular point. That is one of the bigger pictures I see for consolidation, is the fact that it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if they're best friends. When you have two different groups, there'll be problems. They're gonna disagree. And when two governments disagree, someone's losing money and it's the taxpayer. One government, one board to watch, one board to answer for everything. It's not for us to say it's the town's fault, it's not the town to say it's the village's fault. One town, one community working together. And that's how I see it. I also see, by consolidating to one government, all the groups outside of this town will take us more seriously. And I think that's one of the reasons why we haven't progressed with West Point, Orange County, or the state as much as we should have at this point. Because they have to ask. When I speak to, when I talk to Superintendent just last week, you know, it's not easy. I guarantee a large portion of the community doesn't understand town and village. And the fact that in Memorial Park, half of it's town and half of it's village, just in the small park. At Roe Park, there's discussions. Who's responsible here? Who's responsible there? Who's responsible for this? That's how things don't get done. One community together. And we will do it the best way possible that we can. Starting with the DPW and starting by educating the public. And the public will have full voice in the consolidation process. But that definitely will be, that is definitely something to put on the table to look for whether the community is looking for that or not. Thank you. Oh, Charlie?
Yeah. Speaking of West Point, this small report is a draft environmental assessment for a net zero energy initiative at West Point. I can't imagine what implementing this is going to cost. But to date, there has been exactly zero comment from environmental communities, our community across the river. And there is quite a bit to comment on, not the least of which is taking water out of the Hudson River for cooling usage. If it were a municipality doing this, we would be required to do a full environmental impact statement, but right now it looks like this whole project is going to be receiving a negative declaration. It's no impact. Net zero energy is a good thing for the academy. In general, it probably should go through. I have no idea what it will cost though. But in looking at this document, it was a real eye-opener because there are charts of all of the different things that apparently paperwork has already been going through of projects on post, and of particular interest, the privatization of Army lodging. Apparently, there is a proposal for a 36-room hotel addition to the 5-star. The environmental resources affected do not include historical aspects from the state side, and this property is contiguous to listed properties on the state register of historical places. I think we definitely need to set up an appointment to talk to the individual. I sent our clerk the name of the individual and discuss payments in lieu of taxes. Certainly if they are expanding the hotel above the leased land, that property should be subject to taxes. And the whole privatization in terms of what the Congress thought they were doing, was to level the playing field for establishments outside of the gate as well as inside of the gate. The other thing that was particularly interesting was the sewage treatment plant that is under multiple consent orders from the state because it washes out into the Hudson River. There is a project here for over 3 million gallons per day new sewage treatment plant, which sort of flies in the face with things that we had been discussing previously. It seems like we're again facing a lack of good communication between West Point and the community outside of the gate. And if we're gonna make progress and work together, that communication has got to get better. And I'd like to see us start with the 5-star, which is now going to be Holiday Inn Express with certain monopolies on military personnel, definitely. And I do not want to see them get the lease agreement that would free them from any tax obligation.
Excellent.
I would just like to make another comment.
Sure.
In regards to whether the county or state or West Point takes us seriously, I don't think that would matter whether it's a village and town. And I'll also tell you that there's something like 21 towns in Orange County. There's also like 19 villages. So other people get along and it works just fine. So again, I'm not saying that I'm for one or the other, or I'm leaning towards one or the other. All I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with getting the public's input with a vote. Okay, because if they say, hey, we want to keep our village, and you guys need to figure out the best way to maintain it, and the best way to run it, at such and such cost, at the best possible price, then that's your job, you get elected to do that. And if they decide, hey, we don't want it, and let's start moving forward with consolidating with the town, and we're just gonna have one town and town government, that's fine too, so we just work towards that. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking the public that, whether it's in a survey form, but I would say let's do something a little more concrete, so it also takes the sand out of our pockets, and if it's to move forward on consolidation, then we move forward on consolidation.
I also met with Central Hudson last week with Mr. Kutsaratus' request to get gas down to the school. Just to give do we still not have sound? Okay, well, just to give you guys a heads up. According to Central Hudson, and I'll do a real quick brief thing next week so that the public's aware. There's a 60-pound line coming in to West Point. It becomes a 15-pound line when it gets to Highland Falls. They are at semi-capacity at this point. The gentleman from Central Hudson said he could probably accommodate 30 to 50 more people max. So it wouldn't, that as is, wouldn't cut it. We are looking at 2 or 3 options so that not only could we help out, or could we offer gas to Ondiora, Satterley, and Cragston, the school, getting into talks about moving the gas down to Fort Montgomery so that as many people possible, more customers, more money for Central Hudson, but also with the price of gas and oil, we believe that we can work to make it more feasible to bring the gas lines in. I think the meeting went very well. We talked about making sure that we have communication going back and forth, laying new lines for very little cost, trying to eliminate some of the leakage that's been going on in the village on a regular basis. That's it. That's good enough. Lastly, I did meet with the superintendent again at his house for his holiday party. Couldn't have been more positive. I also met, at the event was the mayor of Beacon, who also we talked to at NICOM in length at the NICOM conference. Very interested in working with the town to do some projects together and to benefit each other. And I thought that was very hopeful as well. With that, Again, wish everyone a happy holiday. We'll see you all in the new year. And I need a motion to move into exec. Mr. Brown, do I have a second? We are going, do you have that on your agenda? There's a slew. Discuss specific individuals and personnel matters.
What did they hear?
Nothing.
Thank you very much for coming.
No static?
Have a great holiday.
That's, okay, that's what I want to know, loud static.
I was getting texts from people, oh, my phone died.
I got
Texts
that
from
too.
people too.
I had loud static, cable interference.
Watching